Today I'll tell you what is arrays. Array is a sequential collection of variable of same data type. Basically, it is a kind of variable but has different characteristics. Like we normally have a variable a, and which can contain an integer value like 5. But array is a variable where uh, you can store multiple values. Like along with the 5, we can store 6, we can store 20, we can store 30, we can store 40 under a single name. When there is a conditions, we need to store we need to store data of the same type, of the same domain, like whether it is required to take for in weather forecasting, it is required to take the data of weather in every 1 hour to predict the weather in the coming week. In that scenario, what happens is, if they take data in every 1 hour, so accordingly it is required to create a 24 variables. But uh, instead of creating 24 variables, it is easy to take the data under a single name, and this can be done using arrays. What array does is, this is just normal variable a, and with this normal variable, it all needs to define an index value, that how many values you want to store in this variable, and accordingly you can store number of values: 5, 20, 30, 40, 50, etc. So we can store maximum of 10 values, and we can store minimum of 1 or 2 value in the array. There's no so here is a how we can initialize it, declare it. It's first is a data type, like another variable, and variable name, and its index value, which इसका meaning क्या है? What does it means? That we have declared one array on the name of ARR, and which can store 6 values of integer type. How does it stores? Array starts from 0. So if the 6 elements, if we have declared 6, that it can store 6 values, so these values will be from 0 to 5. Array always start from 0. I'll tell you later how why it is always starts from 0. Let's understand this first. On the first location, array is 0. Array can store 6 value, right? And this is known as index value. Okay, it will keep adding on 111 index value, and it will keep storing the data. Like over here on the array 0, the value is 2. Array 1, the value is 3. Array 2, the value is 5. ARR 3, the value is 4. ARR 4, the value is 6. And ARR 5, the value is 7. So we have stored the total 6 values in the array, starting from the index 0. So okay, how we can use it, like in a program, how we can do it in a program. This is the first way, and this is the second way. Let's understand the first way. Like a5, we have declared one array of the 5 integers, and a0 9, a1 10, a10 2 14, a3 76, and a4 is 34. Now to print all the values, we instead you can write the 5 lines in which printf of a0, printf of a1, a2, a3, or you can write a for loop, because it is a repetitive task. So we can use this for loop. It will keep printing until the value 5 comes. This can store only 5 values, so the for loop is till 5 values. And this is I, where the value of I start from 0. In the first iteration, it will call a0, which will print, it will call for the a0. Value will be 0, so it will call for the value 9. And in the second iteration, I will be plus, and again 1 is less than 5, and again it will come a1. The value of a1 is, that is 10. The value of a2 is, that is 14. So this way it will print all the values which is in the array. Now this is the second method, that we can take values. Instead of doing this work in the 5 lines, we can zip it, and we can do it in 1 line. We can declare and initialize the same variable in the same line. like A5 is equal to bracket starts, it's curly bracket 9 comma 4 comma 22 comma 18 comma 17. So there are 5 values, and we can print these values in the same way that we have done here. So in the same way that we have done here, so it will be printed. So instead of doing this, we can go for this option also, because this option seems minimal. So in the next step, we'll see how we can, this is when we have the data, static data. When we need to take data from the user, in that case, it has to be dynamic. So over here, we have declared one A5. Now it will prompt you for the printf, enter the 5 values, and as the 5 values will be so after this, the scanf option, which actually takes the input, it is under the loop. Now what it does, that for the printing also and for the taking input also, both for both the works, it is required to take and call the loop. So for the first, it will take the input from the user. So as it will go, because it is of 5, so the loop is of 5. So scanf %d a I, address of a I, because it is actually one variable where a0 is a one value. So it will take the input, and this will print the values. This will print, and this will take the user input. So this way array works. It is a variable which can store multiple values of the same domain of the same type. So now question comes, why array starts from 0? What happens is, you can see over here that value of a 0. No, it's not a0. Let's suppose I said a10. So I have stored the value 1 comma 2 comma 30 comma 20, and that's fine. We have taken only 4 values, that's fine. We can store 10 values at the max, but we can store minimum 1 value or 2 value. That's not option, not a case. So what happens is, one will be taking a space in memory. One will be taking space in memory somewhere. So array says that when it says 10, that means the 10 it will allocate 10 memories at the same time at the same place. Okay, at the same time at the same place, and it will just provide the first address of the variable. So that what will happen, if we have the first address, we can reach to the second, we can reach to the third, because all are in the contiguous location, one by one. So if the value of if the address of the first variable is 5000, like of the address of a0, a0, okay, in that case 5000 is the base address, plus 0 is your index value, that be 0 1 2 3. Okay, you can understand, okay, and you can understand this is a, this is index value, and the size of data type, like here I'm taking the integer, where you can see. So the basic size, the base, we are taking the size of integer is 2. So in first location it is 5000. So we'll be able to take 5000 as a value. We will be able to call the value of 5000, and the next address will be 5002. 5000 is the base address, index value is 1, and the size of int is 1 or 2. So 5000 plus 1 multiplied by 2, that means 5000 plus 2. If we will multiply this, this is 2, so it will add 5002, and over here it is 4, it is 5004. So this way it works. And if the value is float data type, if it is a float data type arrays, so in that case the index value is 0, that's fine, base address same, but this will change, and it will change the address. Why it is required? Why it is required? What happens is, there is a RAM. Okay, this is a storage, and our first value is 2, 20, 30, 5, 6, and 7. So this block will be have some address. If it has address, only only then we can find it. When we have the address of the first element, when we have the address of first element, then we can go for the second one, and integer is of 2 bytes. So the next address will be after 2 bytes, which will be should be 5002, and this is 5004, this is 5006, this is 5008, this is 5010. So the moral of the story is, if we know the address of the first location of the array, in that scenario we can fetch the address of all other, and with address we can get the value. What exactly we are doing here? When we print, when we print or let's not take print. When we store the value, when we store the value, scanf percent %d address of ai. What does this means? Address of, for the first location is address of a0, which is 5000, and address of a1, which is 5002. And how do this calculate? This calculation is given here. You can see over here this how the a this is a1, this is a0, this is a2. So this is coming in this way. So here this is all how array works. Now you can practice it. I'll share the assignment of the programs where you need to use arrays. Thank you for now.